Somewhere on Earth in the next 2 minutes, a human being is going to be shot. That's the average, and it holds every single day. There are more than 1 billion guns on the planet right now, roughly 1 for every 8 people alive. But how did we even get here? Because not a single one of these guns was ever supposed to exist. The men who started this weren't trying to build a weapon. They were trying to make a medicine for living forever. Go back 1,200 years. You're an alchemist in China, half scientist, half wizard, and the emperor himself is paying you to find eternal life. Today you're testing a new recipe, a yellow mineral, some burned wood, and a strange white crystal, ground together in one bowl. You lean in close, and your entire workshop explodes. Your hands are burned, your face is burned, the building is catching fire, and you have no idea you just made the most important mistake in human history. Because that flash is going to spend the next 1,000 years getting better at exactly one thing, and every fix will create a brand new way to die. Your explosion wasn't rare. All across China, alchemists were blowing themselves up chasing the same dream. Because the hunt for immortality was the biggest research project on Earth. Emperors didn't just fund it from a distance. They drank the results. Several died poisoned by their own immortality potions, loaded with mercury and arsenic. But those 3 ingredients were different. The yellow mineral was sulfur. The burned wood was charcoal. The white crystal was saltpeter, a crust that grows on cave walls, in damp cellars, on old manure piles. One of the main ingredients of gunpowder is something people scraped off dirt animals had peed on. Around the year 850, a Chinese text finally wrote these explosions down, not as a recipe, but a warning, describing hands and faces scorched and buildings burned to the ground. The first written record of gunpowder in human history is basically one alchemist telling everyone else to stop. Here's why it kept exploding. A normal fire pulls oxygen from the air, which takes time, but saltpeter has oxygen locked inside the crystal itself, so the mixture doesn't wait. It feeds itself, and the whole batch burns almost instantly, releasing a wall of hot gas. In the open, that's a flash. Trapped inside a tube, that pressure has nowhere to go but out the weakest point, violently. That's the entire principle behind every gun ever made. They named it Huo Yao, fire medicine, because in their heads, this was still medicine, just needing some adjustment. The deadliest discovery in human history started life in the medicine cabinet. For 200 years, it stayed mostly harmless. Fireworks, flares, flaming arrows. Then war found it. In 1132, at the siege of the Chinese city of Da'an, defenders held a long spear with a bamboo tube on the tip, packed with fire medicine, the fire lance, a one-shot flamethrower on a stick. Then came the accident inside the accident. Soldiers started packing junk into the tubes with the powder, broken porcelain, scrap iron, stones, just to make the flame nastier. But the flame only reached a few feet. The junk flew much farther and punched deep into bodies. The garbage was doing more killing than the fire. Nobody invented the bullet. It started as trash packed into a bamboo tube, but bamboo can only hold so much pressure. Pack in too much powder and the tube doesn't fire. It bursts, taking the soldiers' hands with it. So metalworkers were handed a new job. Build a tube that can't burst. They cast it in bronze, and the moment it became metal, it stopped being a fire lance. It became a gun. The oldest gun ever made was dug up in Heilongjiang province, dated to 1288. A small bronze tube, no trigger, no handle, just a pipe with a hole for a fuse. Every musket, rifle, and pistol since is a descendant of that pipe. The gun didn't stay in China. Mongol armies carried it west, and by 1326, the first European picture of a gun appears in an English manuscript. Europe took the idea in one direction. Bigger, because Europe had a wall problem. In 1453, a Hungarian engineer named Orban built the Ottoman Sultan a bronze cannon over 8 meters long, firing stone balls heavier than 3 grown men. It hammered the 1,000-year-old walls of Constantinople until they cracked, and the city fell. After that, every wall on Earth was just a question of time. But you can't carry a cannon, so gunsmiths shrank it back into a hand cannon and created a new problem. To fire it, you pressed a burning cord into a hole with one hand while holding the barrel with the other, which meant at the exact moment of firing, you were looking at the hole, not the enemy. The fix, in the 1400s, was the matchlock, a small metal arm that pressed the cord for you when you squeezed a lever. Both hands on the weapon, both eyes on the target, but the burning cord was still hanging off the gun. Rain put it out. The glow gave away your position at night, and every soldier carried an open flame next to his powder. Around 1500 came the wheel lock, a steel wheel spun against pyrite like a lighter, spraying sparks with no open flame. Brilliant, but the clockwork inside was so complex only nobles could afford it. The affordable answer came around 1610 from French gunmaker Marin Le Bourgeois. Clamp a flint into a spring-loaded arm. Pull the trigger. The flint scrapes a steel plate and showers sparks into the powder. The flintlock, cheap, rugged, and the standard weapon of the world for 200 years. Napoleon's armies carried flintlocks. The American Revolution was fought with flintlocks. But loading still took a soldier roughly 20 seconds. Pour powder, ram the ball, prime the pan. 20 seconds standing defenseless while men charged with bayonets. That's why old battles look so strange to us. Long lines of men standing upright, firing together. So while one row reloaded, the next stood ready. The man who finally fixed that flaw wasn't a general. He was a Scottish minister named Alexander Forsyth, and his problem was ducks. His flintlock flashed in the pan a split second before firing, and the ducks saw the flash and dove before the shot arrived. In 1807, Forsyth patented a chemical that exploded the instant it was struck. Instant, sealed, waterproof ignition. 600 years of rain-beating guns ended because ducks kept dodging a clergyman. By the 1860s, gunmakers sealed the striking chemical, the powder, and the bullet into one brass case, the cartridge. Loading went from a 20-second ritual to a 1-second motion, and once it was instant, you could stack cartridges in a magazine and fire one after another. Every firearm since is just a faster way of feeding that same brass case into that same metal tube. Alchemists searching for eternal life accidentally created a fire that carries its own oxygen and called it medicine. Soldiers strapped it to spears. The garbage in the tubes turned out deadlier than the flame. Bamboo burst, so the tube became bronze, grew into cannons that brought down 1,000-year-old walls, then shrank back into human hands, where every flaw got fixed by the next invention, until a duck-hunting minister and a small brass case finished the job. Nobody planned any of this. And now, look at you. You'll hear that sound again tonight. In a movie, a show, a game, and it will cost you nothing, not even a flinch. But every gunshot you've ever heard, real or on a screen, is the same chemical event that exploded in that alchemist's bowl 1,200 years ago. The men who discovered it were trying to defeat death itself. Instead, they handed death its favorite tool. And somewhere on Earth, in the next 2 minutes, another one is going to go off. They were searching for eternal life. Think about that the next time you hear one.